How many of y'all listen to a news story when it comes to guns, and this is like the first thing that comes to your mind?
You are fake news.
Well, anti-gun groups are probably furious because there's a new study that just came out that talks about the real reason why Americans decide to buy guns, and here's a little bit of insight. It's not what you think, and it's certainly not what they tell you it is. I find it fascinating because they've regurgitated this over and over and over, and they all say the same thing: why Americans buy guns and why gun sales go up, and yet it has nothing to do with what the actual reasons are. There's a little twist in the story here that I want to tell you about as well. So, of course, I want to hear your opinion on this. Is this maybe a common belief that you had at one point? Maybe you've changed your mind, maybe not. Whatever your opinion is, leave that down below. Let's go ahead and jump right in. So this new study is from phys.org. It is from the Florida Atlantic University and the University of Texas. And what they use is something called PCMCI plus. Now, I don't want to get all technical with this.
So my mom put this wig on me to cover it up, and then the bones grew together and it got all infused and entwined. I mean, I don't mean to get all scientific or whatever.
But essentially, it is a mathematical algorithm that tests and disputes causation and correlation. It's able to separate those things in real time. So it may be just a couple of days behind. And essentially, from 2012 to 2020, they wanted to see why Americans decide to buy guns. Is it these mass tragic events? Is it weak gun laws? Or is it something else? Well, it's news coverage, okay? So it's not necessarily these mass tragedy type of events, and it's certainly not weak gun laws. It's actually the way in which crime is portrayed. You can't turn on a single news station across the United States without seeing news clip after news clip after news clip of violent crime. And here's the thing, violent crime has actually gone down in the United States over the past couple of decades. But we see so much of this information, the idea or the perception is, well, violent crime has actually gone up. You hear about gang activity. You see what happens in Chicago every single, week. And then essentially what happens is people are like, well, hold up, they're talking about banning certain types of guns. I need to go out and get that gun. In my opinion, the best gun salesman of all time in the United States was Obama. Every time he opened his mouth about guns, gun sales soared. And so the media coverage is the same exact thing when they talk about crime and how bad things are. And of course we all have Ring cameras, and so you see break-ins, and there's stupid viral TikTok videos of kids breaking into people's homes. That's when people start to panic and they're like, well, I need a firearm for protection, and especially if they want to ban certain types of guns, I need that type of gun. So essentially this algorithm looked at background checks from the FBI and seen what was actually causing these surges, and it was the media coverage, but it's also the push from anti-gun groups. Now, they also talked about pro-gun people as well. Whenever they would put out, tweets or social media posts of any kind, anywhere, you would see gun sales go up. So anti-gun groups and their push to restrict certain types of guns and push for more gun legislation, and pro-gun people as well, caused gun sales to rise. It had nothing to do with weak gun laws. It had nothing to do with removal of restrictions that have been placed upon gun owners. And certainly there was some of these tragic events that would happen that would cause gun sales to soar, but it was only the ones where the President of the United States or some major politician or some anti-gun group like Giffords or any of them would really start to hammer home how guns are dangerous, we need to restrict them, magazine restrictions, bans, then you would see these things soar. So they're adding fuel to the fire, and essentially what they don't want to happen is the exact opposite. It's just like Prohibition, right? When Prohibition happened, you had a lot of people that are like, hey, you're taking this away from me, now I want it more. But when it comes to this, you're talking about a constitutional right. So if people have a fear that they're going to lose something, especially when it comes to a constitutional right, they're going to go out and whatever means necessary, they're going to make sure that they come up with the funds in order to buy those firearms. Now, something they found out that was interesting, even though some of these mass tragic events certainly caused a spike in gun sales, especially, Sandy Hook is probably the perfect example that I would think of that really caused a ton of guns, and shortages really for a long time. But they found that those were actually less indicative of spikes in sales compared to just local media coverage. And, these mass tragic events are actually a lot more rare than what you may think. The numbers in which they use to determine was it a mass type of event or was it not are skewed. And so what you'll hear about is, all these shootings, but then, it counts everything, or some people count every single incident with a gun. Somebody brings a gun to a school, right? They get caught with it. Nothing happens, but they get arrested. That's one school incident, right? And so if there's a drive-by or something happens nearby a school, they'll count that. So they don't happen nearly as much as you think. But when it comes to local crime, well, again, we see this every single day on our news stations. And here's what terrifies them the most. These aren't just like hardcore gun people that are going out and buying guns, right? 2020, of course, was a huge surge in new gun sales. And this went from 2012 to 2020, which is a great time period that encompassed, right, Sandy Hook, COVID, elections, right? So there was a lot going on in that period. And it showed that, a lot of new gun buyers, a lot of suburban moms, single mothers, single fathers, people that are just not hardcore into firearms were going out and buying firearms because they knew that, hey, this is the only way I can protect myself. If you're a single mom out there and you're trying to take care of your household, right? You got 3 kids, teenage boys, whatever, doesn't matter really how old they are, right? They're going to be able to potentially do serious harm. So when you see this every day, the great equalizer is a firearm. And so you have a lot of regular people going out buying firearms, and then their mindset could change. Not all of them will, of course, but if they see like, oh, this firearm has been great, right? It serves my family, it serves a purpose, this is a fantastic tool, then they maybe go down the rabbit hole a little bit more. And they're like, well, why would I vote for somebody that wants to restrict this? So you have like a mindset change amongst people that become new gun owners as well. Sometimes you will. So not only do you have people that are maybe voting a little bit differently, it's waking up more people to why firearms are a constitutional right, not just something that we have, but the true foundation of what the Second Amendment is. But the more people that you have that are gun owners doesn't mean they're necessarily going to turn into hardcore gun owners, but it does create some resistance, though, to the political narrative that guns are bad, people that own guns are bad, they're dangerous, they're just looking for a fight. When you start to learn more about the thing that they're trying to ban or restrict, it opens your eyes. So it has really led to, in my opinion, a movement almost when it comes to regular gun owners to the ones that are just hardcore Second Amendment supporters. It's created a bridge there between us. So maybe the best way for them to stop selling more guns is, first of all, stop putting a spotlight, a constant spotlight on crime, mass tragic events. They'll cover these things for weeks and weeks and weeks, sometimes months on end. They make quasi-celebrities out of some of these people. Not only do you have a potential to create copycats, but you also are driving political narratives that drives people to their local FFL to buy more firearms. So maybe stop fear-mongering and understand that when it comes to a constitutional right, people take this stuff very serious. At the end of the day, they're just making more gun owners and making more people aware to what we do and why we fight so hard for the 2A. There you go. There's my opinion. I'd love to hear yours. Let me know what you think down below. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. See you in the next one. And as always, holding down.